Welcome to episode 05 of Meet the Voter. Today, my co-host is Jonathan Denwood, and we'll be cycling through co-hosts. Nick Hernandez was normally our key co-host from Southern California. He will be on later in the show with a couple others. Jonathan, what a week. You know, last week we put out forecasts, and none of us could have forecast what happened.
No, not really, but in some ways, it's not that surprising either, is it, really?
Okay.
Are you that really surprised, Bill, with your background and what?
Am I surprised? Yes and no. This is a pretty massive attack. It's a frontal attack. It was planned. There was 8 people. And a lot of people were talking about this could happen, especially with the number of refugees and people coming in unvetted, things of that nature. France inherently has more of an issue because the number of Muslims they have in their country.
I don't agree with that, Bill. I think
per capita in Europe,
I think almost all European countries now, and I do understand why people say this. They say Muslim. This has nothing to do with the Muslim faith. This is
and in France, absolutely, Jonathan. I worked with the French for a year. They fought a war in Northern Africa and insurgencies well before the rest of the Western world.
Yes, what's that got to do with?
And they've been a target for terrorism through Muslim extremists for years.
I would link the word. I think the key word here is extremist.
No, it's Muslim extremist. These are Muslim, not just extremists, but Muslim extremists. There are 30 to 40,000 organized army right now in ISIS. Remember, I spent 4 years, I'm embedded with the French, 4 years doing this research and working in teams.
Well, we fundamentally...
They were not Christians who just killed a bunch of folks.
See, this is where I totally disagree with you, Bill. And it's honest.
When's the last time Christians went out and shot a bunch of folks?
Christians have killed a lot of people.
When's the last time? I'm not talking, in recent modern years.
Well, I need to explain my position a little bit clearer here. You
don't think ISIS is Muslim based?
No, I don't actually. I don't think they got
Islamic State. Islamic State.
They can call themselves whatever they like, but they've got as much to do with religion and compassion and the Quran as I've got with hearing.
Jonathan, how much have you studied the Quran? I probably have more.
I've read it a couple of times, Bill, and a lot.
The Bible does have some. It's
the Quran and the Bible are filled with violence.
What's a caliphate? What's a caliphate?
A caliphate. It's a kind of supreme. It's like a vision. It's like when a Christian says the New Jerusalem. It's this iodized place where paradise will be almost on earth. It's a bit like when a Christian talks about the New Jerusalem, to have Jerusalem. It's like William Blake when you read the poem Jerusalem, where he talks about at one time in one place the New Jerusalem will be built in Britain. It's a kind of iodized hope almost. But all religion, when you link, and the founding fathers of this country really knew this, and thank God we live in America in some ways. And also, we didn't formalize it so much in Britain, but we came to accommodation where we realized you've got to split politics from religion. And when you mix the two together, like this, or groups attempt to utilize a religion in any shape or form to kind of justify murder, psychopathic terrorism, slaughter, it's just nonsense, Bill. It truly is nonsense. I know they do it, but what's so depressing is rational people then fall into that trap of almost kind of saying that these people got anything to do with any kind of religion. Most of these people haven't even read the Quran. They have no knowledge of anything.
The caliphate is a form of government. First of all, Jonathan, I have a lot of friends who are Muslims. I've helped my interpreter get back into the States. But this is actually a war against Muslim extremists. It's not a war against Christian extremists. It's a war against Muslim extremists. And they're expanding right now. There's 30 to 40,000. And the president of the United States has totally failed since 2008. People close to me know how much I railed. I was in government when they changed, and knows how much I've railed on this president and his policies. Now, going back, there were also mistakes, of course, even invading Iraq. It's pretty proven Iraq right now and destabilizing the country. But when we pulled all the troops out, we created the vacuum. We have created what we have now as a growing caliphate, basically, through ISIS. And the best thing to do without going too complex is go up on Wiki, and caliphate is CALIPHATE. And that's the best place to start. And it talks about the leadership, the system, and how they, basically declare war. A lot of people are saying today that the French, first of all, the French declared war on the ISIS. They declared it on ISIS. They did it the next day. That's a war against Islam, Islamic State. They declared the French president Mitterrand declared war against ISIS. What does ISIS stand for?
They can say they stand for whatever they like. Doesn't mean it's true.
No. He declared it's called the Islamic State of Iraq, and it actually ISIL is the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant. Levant is a big area that actually goes down into.
This is a very, but I think we can have a really powerful discussion about this because we're friends, but we've got very different attitudes to this. But I think it's a very important discussion because I really think it's at the crux of the future of America, the future of the West, and the future of our relationship with the Middle East and with the 1.5 billion people that either say they're Islamic or actively involved in the faith. And when people utilize this language, we're fighting Islam, we're fighting Muslims. Well, A, on a practical, I totally disagree with that. And B, we're going to lose, basically. Because
No, we're not, Jonathan. We're not fighting Muslims. We're fighting ISIL, which is an Islamic State. We're not fighting all Muslims because I worked with the Jordanians. I was embedded with Jordanians fighting against, radical Muslims. And Jordanians are all Muslims.
Radical Muslims that mostly were financed and armed by the CIA. And
no. They have not since the Russian downfall. That money has not come in. I can tell you all about the madrasas that were established in the Pakistan border. The 70,000 people who have
financed by Saudi.
I can tell you all about
financed by
that came in through both the United States and through Saudi Arabia. And we can also talk about the Saudi form of Islam, which evolved. Now, that is the Taliban. Now, the ISIS is a whole new state, whole new Muslim government system. And it's the first established state, true state, established state of power. And they have money, finance, oil, equipment, and at least 40,000 troops and growing. And who knows? And cells, and sleeper cells all over the United States.
Oh,
this
is. I'm sorry.
Jonathan, you don't think we're at war right now? You don't think we're at war?
Look, I lived through.
Hey, well, we're coming on off for a break, and we've been joined by Dr. Nicholas Hernandez from down in Laguna Beach. Nick, I just talked to Jonathan. We had sort of a heated discussion. I think I fell back to some of my years. I spent 30 years in active reserve and in civil military operations, mostly working in Afghanistan, helping set up that government. I was in Kuwait when we pulled the last troops out, and everyone knew in my organization that was a total mistake, but we follow our orders as the president so said. So anyway, going back, what did you think of this week, Nick? You saw Meet the Press. I mean, no one forecasts what just happened.
Well, this was a horrifying week, and the last 10 days have been absolutely just horrifying. The Russian jet being shot down, Beirut, and now Paris. That's right at 600 people that ISIS has killed, in a very open manner, a very obvious manner. And it makes me wonder, because I really don't think that the United States and France and, the EU, that their special forces, their intelligence services are sitting back. I'm wondering how many ISIS fighters have been killed in the last few days and will be killed. I think it's going to be a lot more than 600, the way the war machine seems to work. And it's a tragedy, no matter how you look at it. ISIS is just hideous. I don't consider them, I agree along the lines of Jonathan, in that I don't consider them a religion. Religions don't do things like that. Religions help and uplift people. They don't
So you're saying, are you saying Islam is not a religion?
Islam is a religion, but the ISIS is a look. There are Christian. You asked the question: Christians kill people? Well, yeah, Christians have, but I don't consider them real Christians. I don't consider the people that are doing this with ISIS real Muslims.
You know what? They consider themselves Muslims.
Well, that's fine.
And they call themselves Muslims.
That's fine, and I'm sure the people that
interpreters threaten to kill other interpreters.
Yeah, the Christians that blow up abortion clinics, they consider themselves Christians also.
Let me just say that the Muslim religion, I believe, can be twisted very bad.
Any religion can.
And if you look at the Quran, and if you look at the lineage in 662 with Muhammad and the warlike evolution that he evolved from, it's a warring area that it occurred from. They broke away and they took a lot of different religions and put them into one. And then they have a split among themselves, of course, the Sunni and the Shiite. So and they fight among themselves all the time.
Oh, and so do the Christians. So do every religion. The Jews fight amongst themselves. Everybody does.
But we're not killing. Well, you can say Hitler, because we're both Christian nations. We're fighting.
There you go. I mean, it's
but they weren't fighting in the name of Christianity.
No religious group is immune to.
When's the last time that we've gone to war in the name of Christianity in a modern society?
Well,
when's the last time the Buddhists went to war? When's the last time any other major religion's gone to war in the name of that religion?
Well, but Islam is not at war. Just these fools are.
No, I'm not saying Islam. I'm saying we're fighting the state, Islamic State, though.
Yeah, and caliphate. I've got the meaning. I looked up caliphate right here.
Caliphate. It's actually a form of government, and the caliphate is the leader. Yeah,
a form of Islamic government led by a caliph.
Yep.
And a person considered a political and religious successor to the Islamic prophet Muhammad.
ISIS is a caliphate.
Well, that's what they call themselves, but I don't.
And they take the Quran as their fundamental basis.
Well,
and if you insult Muhammad more than 3 times, your sentence is death. That's in the Quran.
I think
you guys are laughing. I've seen people actually killed.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Can I?
You guys are laughing, huh?
Yeah,
it's funny.
No, I don't. I don't think killing people is funny at all, Bill. But I think, it's a bit like the situation in Southern Ireland,
and they're scared to death. You know why the Muslims who don't speak out as much are scared to death? Because they'll go after them before they'll go after anybody else.
You're not going to let me finish, are you, Bill? It's the situation in some ways you saw in Ireland in the 50s and 60s, where the Catholic Church was all dominant still, and where its political domination of the Irish Southern government was pretty total. It's when you have, and the founding fathers of this country it was one of their biggest worries, and they were determined that religion and politics were going to be separated, and you weren't going to have the bloodbaths that you had seen in Europe and the kind of oppression and slaughter. They were determined after the American Revolution, you weren't going to have that situation in this country. When it comes to, I'm not laughing about the slaughter of people because somebody says, it'd be like, there's some people, I've been in Reno when I've said I'm a socialist, and they said, you're a traitor to America. You're a disgrace. you should kick you out.
Hey, Jonathan, I'm going to go on here. I'm going to go on with the show here.
Yeah.
First of all, the president mentioned the word dash. I'm trying to find it online, and people are making fun of it, but I can't actually find out what the definition of dash is. He used dash. I heard it.
Dash. I believe it's pronounced dash.
I think it's called dash. D-A-S-H. I don't know.
Dash. Yeah.
No,
I've never heard it. I can't believe the president's always the first one to use a new term, even when the military is not using the term, it seems, in his State Department. By the way, the crony he had on from the State Department, I'm familiar with him. Ben Rhodes hooked into a couple of contractors too. Jonathan, I can say that this president has their contractors also, and I know exactly who they are. I won't say with them because I've worked with them and they were in support.
Oh, I think you're totally right there.
They were the same. Just to give you a clue, they're one of the contractors, the same ones that got the $60 million to put the website together for Obamacare.
Yeah, all I can tell you.
I wrote them up for fraud.
Yeah, probably.
I did.
Yeah.
Overseas.
Yeah. All I can tell you, based on our experience in 40 years of fighting the RRA, is you cannot defeat one of these terrorist, quasi-political religious movements by military force. It's got to be a combination of security.
The theory is you actually have to kill them.
No, well,
you kill them. You can't convert them. They're so far gone that these people actually have to be killed. If you look at how terrible the people were in Guantanamo, those few that we had in there, 130, those were those were difficult folks who are still there, by the way.
I disagree with you, Bill. Actually,
you don't think you have to kill most of them?
Well, in the end,
you're naive. You are. You're naive. These they do not come back. They actually. It's so ingrained from them since they're very small. Very small.
Now we're sort of getting into a
philosophical. Let's get off of this.
Rich,
let's go back and we're going to talk for a couple more minutes, and we'll go to our last section.
Let's stop.
What do you think is going on with the election? We had both a Democrat last night, which I missed. I caught it afterward, and the Republican debates this week.
Yeah, I watched the debates last night.
Tell what was in the Democrat debate, Nick? I was going to actually have you talk about it in this way.
See, my new shirt, and it says on the back, one of my favorite sayings is "not for sale." And what I attended last night was a training/info event for Bernie for 2 hours, and then we watched the debate together at a movie theater here in Southern California. And the debates were pretty good. Again, on Meet the Press today, a couple of the commentators said Hillary won the debate. I don't know what debate she was watching because it wasn't the one I was watching.
I saw that at Meet the Press. They had that little group of Democrats, and they all said who would do the best on foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
Yeah, especially now with the last 10 days, the mood is much more hawkish with everybody. Everybody, is more afraid. Everybody's more concerned. And right away, it's like, well, let's go kill him.
Nick, let me tell you something. In 1999, I had a brief by a colonel in a group. It was our whole wing, a wing commander. And, I transferred it back in the Army, civil military operations after that. But when he first said there are people out there who want to kill us, our kids and children, I said, this is just, war talk and rah-rah and motivation. I didn't believe it. But after 10 years of war and seeing what I've seen, I do believe it. There's no doubt in my mind. I believe it. 9/11.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Bill, that these people need to be eliminated and stopped completely. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But
can I quickly say something? When Britain was on its own facing Nazi Germany, the Nazi government drawed up a list of 10,000 intellectuals that when it was planning to invade, and the SS and the Gestapo had drawn up a list of 10,000 British intellectuals that they were going to round up and execute in less than 3 days. Then they were going to round up all the Jews in Britain and ship them for we know their end. This wasn't a kind of, it was a religion. It was a religion, a politics religion of Nazism, of ideology. These ideologies always appear.
Yeah, it was an ideology. That's a good term.
That wasn't.
You could say ISIS is an ideology.
It's an ideology. It's a way of thinking. It's a thinking of death. It glorifies, and so did Nazi Germany. It glorified murder, killing, violence.
You know, Jonathan, when you say that, I actually quite a few studies in Nazi Germany and studied leadership. And Rommel is one of the people we studied as one of the best leaders in the world. He was not a Nazi. People don't realize that. Rommel was not a Nazi, yet he was a German. So it was the SS. It was the SS that was doing that.
He was quite happy to go along with them as long as they kept on winning, Bill.
Yeah, how did he get so high up in the military without being a Nazi?
You got to know his history. His father was a German general.
Was Rommel a general?
Oh, yeah, he was one of the top tank commanders.
Field Marshal, wasn't he?
He fought in World War I too. He was Field Marshal. Yeah, he's a general. But his leadership, he never became a Nazi. He was never part of the Nazi party. And he was a true soldier. Soldiers try to stay out of politics. They become soldiers. And
I just want to put this to you.
Rommel also did not execute prisoners. It's hard to explain his culture. He was a true warrior. He's considered one of the true warriors.
I'd like to.
I'm just trying to say that not all Germans.
My father fought with the 8th Army, and German units did not take prisoners, and they.
That was the SS executing them.
No, well, this is the mythology, but regular in the desert, they did their policy. They regularly executed Allied forces, and really, when American forces confronted them in Tunisia, there's well documented evidence that they executed a number of American officers and soldiers, just straight away murdered them.
Right. Well, we're sort of straying. Let's get back. But I'm just saying that
I have a question. I'd like to sort of move the topic forward a bit to some of the news.
Yeah.
One of the things that concern me the most, and I'm sure a lot of other people, is that one or two of the perps in this Paris thing came in as an immigrant through Greece, and that is one of the most alarming flags for me. You know, so in other words, the vetting system absolutely failed.
Vetting system.
I don't think they. I think he was smuggled across borders, but that'll come out. I know he came in through Greece and he came to the island. Hey, let's take a pause right now. And we'll go to our final section. So we're back after the break, and we had a very lively discussion on break that we really couldn't put on this. It wasn't logical in some sense. It was more discussion and individual opinions. But that said, Sam, we're bringing Sam on, Sam Brooks, and I think you're on episode 141, 142 of Timelines. Sam, we want to know, you were 5 years in France, and you know the area. Tell us about the area and some of the environment.
The areas of the attacks, I mean, basically are targeted to, be those that are the most important, in French culture today. So you have definitely two areas, the restaurant and Le Bataclan, the concert hall, which were someplace highly populated or visited by millennials, by the new generation, a big part of, trendy modern culture or contemporary culture. And then the Le Stade de France, the stadium, is huge in French culture, football, soccer for you guys. But yeah, it's really the places that were picked were very significant culturally. And, I don't know if you guys had discussed this yet, but the president was there at the football game.
Correct.
And
saw the look on his face.
French people and soccer is like, it's one of the biggest things. It's and football. It's a place where people expect that there's so much security that nothing like this could ever happen. And it was an obvious message to say that that's not true. that even in the places that they consider to be the most secure, they're not secure.
Well, on Meet the Press today, one of the statements that made an impression on me was the fact that France was admitting that it's basically out of control. There's too many possible insurgents or terrorists at this point in time to prevent these kind of things from happening. And it's going to get a lot. The backlash is going to be terrible from this, and the security it's necessary that it is bolstered.
Are you speaking in terms of the amount of immigrants that are in France?
The Muslim population is about 10%.
Well, what they said on Meet the Press today was that there are such a high number of possible terrorists, possible insurgents.
So they're probably talking about the people that are already living in the country.
It's called safe houses.
Both the new
sleeper cells
and the people that are already there.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to sort of finish up the program today. I'm trying to keep it online, like 30 minutes of the recorded part. And Jonathan understands that in its production. By the way, in what we do in our environment, they say 22 minutes is the optimal time for a show, 22 to 24 minutes. So we shoot for 30. So I want to finish up with forecasts. Last week, I remember I'll start with my long-term forecast was that Hillary Clinton still has the FBI investigation, which she still does. I'm going to stick with that. That there's a very unknown wild card there in the Democratic Party with Hillary Clinton and the FBI investigation. That can definitely take her down. And in my book, from what I know, it should take her down, what she did. And that's just me from my background. Jonathan, what's going to go with you? Let me go my short term. Here's my short term, and I hate to give this short term. Republican and Democrat, the primary is going on. They say that this will go over in a couple of weeks. People will forget. But I think in the meantime, this week and next, we're going to be at war footing. France is going to war. France will go to war. The Russians are going to war too because of that downing that plane. So we got a mini world war coming right now. And it's just a matter of time until we have a buildup with the United States. What is it? Title 5 or
Article 5.
Article 5 of the UN. If France puts that into effect, which they probably will, that will bring in all of NATO into the war. So we are at a war footing. We have at least 40,000 known, 30 to 40,000 armed known fighters in ISIS. That's going to be a lot of work. So I think we're going to war again. That's my short term. And I think we're going in the very short term. France is definitely already going to war. So anyway, that's my two short term. Not very good. I'd like to give a third in political, but I can't. I can't even think what's happened politically right now. Jonathan, why don't you give your short term, long term?
What do you classify as short term?
We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now.
Right.
Short term, long term is like I said, the example of the FBI investigation, Hillary. That's going to come out. So, what was your long term last week? We should really write these down.
I wasn't on last week.
Well, that's right. It was 2 weeks ago. You've missed a little bit.
Yeah.
By the way, people, you can watch this live at meetthevoter.com if you can't handle.
I think they spoke about this on Meet the Press. You would have thought this situation would have helped Jeb a little bit because he's the kind of establishment, wise. He tries to put this persona on, doesn't he? But they were saying that it might not work out this time. It might actually help Trump. It might actually...
That's not really a short-term, long-term. So you think it's going to help Trump?
Him to keep the momentum going. Long-term, I think long-term, the country's got two choices. It's got the left, it's got the progressive left and the libertarian, the true libertarian movement. Their message is this hasn't worked. This is a continuous of a policy that will only fail. It's a disaster. It's making the situation even worse. We need to remove ourselves from the Middle East. We need to influence forces in the Middle East that are pro-women, pro-democracy. But we do that by cultural, economical, all the other things, but we decide that we are no longer military and CIA, special forces, all the rest of it. We are not going to get ourselves involved with this situation anymore, and we're going to make a total honest attempt to divorce.
Jonathan, what's your short term, long term?
Well, I just said that's the other choice.
Down shorter. What's the short? No, not choices. What's going to happen? I'm forecasting not what could happen, but I mean what the options are. But what do you think is going to happen? I said short term. You know,
short term, I see Jeb and that. Long term, if this situation exacerbates, the rhetoric and will become more important in the election. But I don't think it will, because I think economic circumstances are going to rear their head quite strongly in the next 6 months. And that's really going to totally dominate the discussion.
That's good. That's good to bring that at that economic backbone. That's very true. Hey, Nick, short term, long term.
Short term, the entire world is quaking over what just has happened in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
And so short term, I have pretty much, it seems impossible for me to come up with a forecast. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I really think that probably the UN will get involved. UN
is shorter to act, though. It takes time for the UN.
Yeah. So
unlike NATO,
I'm feeling really sad. You know, I feel kind of the same way that when we first went into Iraq. I remember the day they started bombing, I was walking to Main Beach crying. I kind of feel like that now. This is horrible. What's about to happen?
Yeah.
You know, war is never pretty. It's never productive. It's going to be.
This could be worse than what just happened in the last 10 years. This could be worse.
Now, I can see that possibly happening.
7 or 8 different countries.
And in politics, I still have to disagree with you. I think Hillary is too powerful to be prosecuted, like the banks, too big.
And that's a good forecast that she's not going to be prosecuted.
I don't think she will.
From what I know, from what the law is, I think she is.
And then again, but you know, so much of the government doesn't follow the law. And I
technically she's not in the government right now. She's an independent. She's a civilian.
I'm not arguing with your legal stance, Bill. I'm just saying what I think is going to happen. And again, today, Bernie was minimized on Meet the Press again. With saying that, I have to say that over and over again. And I was just at a rally last night, and the fervor and the intensity of the millennials is so strong right now.
Yeah,
and I think that.
Well,
I think that's the wild card.
I just want to quickly respond to that. I think it's up to the younger generation. I think it's only with a uprising in the student body and linking with trade union and leftist and libertarian forces that will save this country.
Okay, Jonathan, I want to go back to Nick again. Nick, short term I think those are good forecasts. What you just said, that was it your long term that we may be going into a war footing? Short term?
Yeah, we are. The world is quivering, quaking right now, and I don't know. But I want to mention something about Cambridge. Every presidential cycle, they do a mock election, including the primaries. And they predicted the Romney-Ryan ticket. They predicted Obama would win both times. And their margins were spot on, and they have been for the last 4 or 5 presidential elections. This year they did one, and they came up with Bernie winning in a landslide. Let's see what happens. And I'm sure pulling hard for that. I'm working as hard as I can for that, because to have somebody with great integrity would be a nice change.
Yeah, I don't think anybody talks about him not having integrity. Sam, we're going to finish up with you, and we want to thank you for coming on. And we'll see you in 2 weeks too, because hopefully we'll calm down. We'll have a special on some of your writings and opinions on incarceration in California for the third period. So Sam, that's what you're supposed to talk about this period. But again, we had this attack this week.
Yeah.
Oh, attacks, plural, 3 of them. So go ahead, Sam. Finish up. What's your short-term and long-term forecasts?
What I think is most likely to happen is that unfortunately, this tragedy is going to further Islamophobia around the world, and a majority is going to suffer for the actions of a few. We're going to use this as an excuse to enter into countries where, in my opinion, the reason that these things are occurring in the first place is because of our involvement in these countries. And because of colonialism, because of war, because of sending troops in, because of not respecting other people's governments and cultures. And I think that's all going to get worse. And France, to me, is like my second country. And I am more emotionally affected, I think, than most people, especially Americans. And I still don't want to go try and invade a country over it. And I don't want to kill people over it. And I don't think that's going to help. Politically, I think that we are coming to a crossroads in politics where there's a new generation that has new ideas and new ways of seeing things. And I believe that there's hope in that. And about, entering into relationships, the United States entering into relationships with countries around the world in a way that is meaningful and not oppressive,
Okay, Sam, we're going to finish up with that and cut the show. What I want to tell folks, we'll be on next week at the same time at 9:30.
Totally agree, Sam.
If you do not have a blab account, and you can tell your friends, just give them meetthevoter.com, because you could have been watching live on meetthevoter.com, which is just a website without having any account. So we're live. There's no pause, no 3-second delay. It is live. It's amazing what they're doing right now. Yeah. So with that, thank you for all coming in. I wanted to say that
thank you.
I hope we have a better week this week worldwide than we had last week. And our prayers go out to all the victims and all the people around the world who were killed or who are having. It's hysterical. Anyway, I'm talking too much. So goodbye.
Bye, Bill. Bye.
Hey, we're coming back up for a few minutes to show you the power of blab in this conversation. And we've had some great dialogue. We can't record it all, but I'm going to record about 5 minutes. We have Paul from England. We've had a few folks from overseas in Europe. Paul, you're a politician in England?
I am.
So what were you saying about the issues in France and in England, the differences?
Well, there are no differences in England, France, or anywhere else for that matter. What I was saying is that the difficulty we have is in our communities, if we have people spouting hate, then we have responsibility as citizens, as members of their families or whatever, to address those issues. Because if you imagine a family dining table and you have one member of that family, a young man, let's say, and I'm just being hypothetical here, but you have a young man spouting hate about the West and the country that they live in. Now, yes, there is an argument of free speech. Of course there is. We need to have free speech. However, as a parent, if I'm a Muslim and I have a member of my family, a son, a daughter, whatever, spouting this hate, then there's a chance they could be susceptible to radicalization. That's all I'm saying. I don't know the best way to describe that. But the thing is that for national security, for the security of that person, the well-being of that person, those things need to be addressed in our communities. And where I live, we have a very large Muslim community, and I can tell you now, I attended many Muslim events. I've been to mosques in my community, and these people are peace-loving people. The people that are ISIS are a very small minority of Muslim people, and when we saw in January with the Charlie Hebdo attacks again in Paris, the reaction from the Jewish community and the Muslim community at the time, we saw immediately in the aftermath of those horrific attacks, Jews and Muslims walking literally hand in hand in solidarity and in unity down the streets of Paris, and speaking out against what had happened. I very much hope that we see the same happen again now. You can imagine in France now, they're all very jumpy. We saw on the news tonight there was a very small incident where people were panicking. It could have been a car backfiring in the street or whatever, but there was almost a mini stampede. People are justifiably nervous. My concern is that this tolerance that we saw after the Charlie Hebdo attacks could be tested to its limits now. And what we need is calm in our community, and let our leaders lead. We elected these people to do what they're doing, and no one has the real answers. It's a very, very volatile situation right now.
I'd like to ask a follow-up question we asked earlier in our show. We asked projections of the panel. What do you think is going to happen next? The French president, Holland, who used to actually
declared war,
who has declared war, and that's huge. And he'll probably invoke NATO to come in with him.
Yeah, I forget what they call that. He's already invoked it just by declaring war, and they're a member of NATO.
Yeah,
they've done that. That's exactly what they've done. The G8 are meeting as we speak. Mm-hmm. I think the response will be significant, actually. In Britain, we voted against, or rather our parliament voted against boots on the ground in Syria. I'm not so sure what's going to happen now. I don't know whether there'll be an amendment to that. But certainly we are offering some form of assistance to military action currently in Syria with support for airstrikes and that type of thing. Don't think we're actually taking part ourselves because our parliament voted against military action. But that might change. And already we're seeing in our own mainstream media saying that we're next. And that's propaganda in my eyes, because Theresa May has been on the news today and said they're not going to up the threat level, security threat level, because there is no intelligence to suggest there is an attack imminent. We're just on the highest level there is. An imminent attack is the highest level, with a one below that at the moment, I believe.
Bill, I think it's interesting what's going on in the conversation in the side box. People are.
I've not been monitoring that.
About the difference between the value of life in different circumstances in different parts of the world, where we seem to concentrate on deaths and give a greater value to life in westernized democracies.
So all the countries, I travel right across the Gulf region specifically, and they speak up. They hate terrorism. The UAE actually killed one of their own local people. There was a lady, an Emirati, who killed an American teacher, and then she tried to kill a doctor. Okay. In Dubai, and within 1 week she was executed, death penalty, and that was it. To just prove a point, to say that we don't care if it's our own people or not. If you do anything like this, we will take you out. And they fight against terrorism. At the moment, they're fighting in Yemen against the same thing because of ISIS strongholds and Daesh in the Yemen specific country. And they've had a lot of soldiers die, actually, for this. There was over 50 United Arab Emirates soldiers that have just passed away. We had a public holiday for them as well, just to honor them in a sense. And Saudi is fighting against that too. The reason I think for it is because it's so close to home that they're doing that specifically. And they're really against a lot of things. For instance, I had a Syrian colleague that worked for me at my company, and they would not renew her and her husband's visa at all for the extended period. Because when you work here, you get a visa for a specific period of time through your company, and then you have to renew it every 3 years or 2 years at any point in time. So they just declined them immediately and said, sorry, we don't care, we don't want you here, and they kicked them out of the country. So yes, sir.
Brandon, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you're in Dubai.
Yes, sir.
What is typically the security in Dubai? Would you say it's heavy? Because, Dubai, it strikes me as being a country that relies heavily on tourism. I would suggest that their GDP is mostly as a result of tourism. And I'm actually amazed that it's not been a target.
To be honest with you, so am I. purely because 85% of the population in the United Arab Emirates is expats. Okay,
Right.
Only 15% are local. So it's a very big international stage. If you, God forbid, had to have a tourist, a suicide bomber do something, you would kill probably people from 100 different countries, okay, at one time, because there's so many mixed cultures and people here. There's over 150 different nationalities living in Dubai alone. So it would be a really big target. But over and above the terrorism part, just on a normal factor for a normal person, Dubai is extremely, extremely well secured. It is extremely safe. There's hardly any crime here at all. The police are super, super efficient. They catch people within 24 hours of committing any sort of crime, whether it be something small like stealing a cell phone, like that specifically. Within a short period of time, they catch it, and they publicly tell you what they did. They even make videos of things that they've done to catch these people, to show to what extent they're willing to go to shut you down. So I think it's purely because of that, and their border control here is so strict. They do not allow anyone in from anywhere without doing background checks, police clearance. We in the UAE, I cannot go onto any religious site, okay, Islamic or Christian or anything. It doesn't matter. I cannot go onto any sort of porn site if I anything that is like considered to them as wrongful in a sense, or something that can suspect with regards to that. But I think it works. So for me, I come from South Africa. So when we talk about crime and we talk about murder, I live in a country that has one of the highest crime rates in the world at the moment. We probably have the third highest murder rate in the world right now. Okay, 49 people are killed every day by the hands of others in South Africa. And purely based on that, like, I love my country and we could say whatever we want. We have freedom of speech. We can do all these things. But with that comes a lot of negatives too. And in the UAE, for instance, I cannot even just go on Facebook and say, Bill is an idiot because he parked in the wrong parking space. If I do that, they will kick me out of the country if I never gave him a fair trial. I have to go to the police. I have to report him. The police will do an investigation. They will decide what the result is. If it goes to court, it will do that. And then we discuss it there. I cannot publicly humiliate him, even if he was wrong. They don't allow that because they don't want any conflict. So they really, really keep a strict control on those things, which works. And it's worked for the last 20 or 30 years, actually, with almost no incidences here at all with regards to any sort of terrorism attacks or whatever the case may be. And people are afraid to do anything here because they know of the consequences. So, for example, in the last 3 months, Saudi Arabia had 2 bombings in a mosque. Okay, so they had suicide bombers go into a mosque while people were praying, and they bombed it, and they killed in excess of 25 people the first time and over 30 people the second time. Then they went to Kuwait, okay, into a mosque, and they bombed the mosque as well. So they were killing their own people to put up a standpoint, because they know, as you were saying earlier, the other gentleman that was on, dictatorship. Saudi Arabia is, in my opinion, not a very nice place. I don't like going there. It's a very extremist on a normal perspective, not from an Islamic a suicide bomber perspective or ISIS perspective, but just from a cultural and religious perspective, they are strict. And to prove a point to the world, these guys are saying, well, we will kill anybody that stands in our way, even our own people, because for them, their belief is not only an Islamic belief, it's a personal thing. It's something that they've developed themselves. It's a form of Islam to them. So they're saying that even though Saudi is an extremist country, we still don't like them because they don't support us. So what do? They go and kill them just to prove a point to the rest of the world and say nobody is safe. Okay, and that's the message they're putting out there. And the message that the reasoning for it, I have no idea. I just think it's stupidity. I think that's all it is. There's no reason. There's no reason to go to Paris and kill 100 people, and go to America and kill people, and go to anywhere and just do it. There's no point.
Person who is the benevolent monarch, and they operate from a position of true humanity. Nobody has to worry about anything. You know, that person is making decisions to the betterment of its or his or her society. I always thought that was fun. I've heard that all my life, you know, from the time I was a young person. Obviously, it would be pretty hard pressed today in the personality ethic that seems to pervade throughout the world. It would be hard to find a benevolent monarch. comments here have been very good. I've made some side comments, and I'm glad to see people engaged this way. There is one thing that we're personally experienced, a few associates and I. I've been dabbling in government for about 55 years, from the background, you might say. And we have gone away from being involved in our local government. And because of media and because of a plan, I think a well-designed plan, we now concentrate on national government. You know, the president, who cares about, I mean, to be honest with you, the presidential election, yeah, it comes around every 4 years. I've offered a challenge many times on air and on my talk shows for the last 11 years. Do you know who's running for Congress in your district? Have you gone to that person? Have you probed them, questioned them? Do you know who is running your city? Do you know who's running your county? The interesting thing is when you get involved in that, a group of people can be a tremendous impact, more so than you can in a national political event. And we've always, you know, we've done this throughout. We've got a good case going in the Midwest right now in a small town. We opened a newspaper a few years ago, and things are getting done to the benefit of the citizens of that. People are no longer in office that were in office. People are now flooding the city council meetings on Tuesday nights. You know, everybody, instead of watching football games and hockey games, they're going out and being involved in their communities. Mm-hmm. So I believe, you know, it's just a passion of mine, local government. And the tragedies that we're seeing today, I agree wholeheartedly. The Civil War was very tragic, and many, many people lost their lives in the Civil War than have in the last 50 years in any conflicts. The reason it wasn't an impact on humanity is nobody knew about it, because there was not the instant gratification of watching this happen. I'm not saying the Civil War was good. You know, I'm just saying that now we hear of about 128 people and believe me, that's, you know, not my way of living. But everybody around the world was glued to that because of our technology. And I have a premise, and I'm leaving shortly, that this technology has been designed and put into our hands, we think, to give us freedoms. But in many ways, I think we will find very quickly that those devices have worked in the opposite direction and have allowed us to be more easily enslaved. It is that way to people like, oh my God, I left my cell phone at home. Well, who gives a squat? We're told in business that they're necessary. My God, we grew huge businesses and never had fax machines and cell phones and computers. And in fact, those businesses are still doing well. So it's just my opinions. I really enjoy Nick's input because I said shared. Sam, where are you located?
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Long Beach. I know it well. I came to Northern California 40 years ago from San Clemente. Okay. And I attended high school in Orange County.
I grew up in Laguna Niguel, and I
know Laguna Niguel very, very, very well. The Niguel House, After Hours with Jerry Velasco, was the place where I spent my fortune eating oysters Rockefeller after 2:00 every evening or every morning. So that's why I moved away, because I didn't like that lifestyle. You know, I mean, I moved up here to start farming again. I moved
to Long Beach, and then I might be relocating up there soon.
Hopefully. You're going to go back to Niguel?
No, I'm looking to apply to transfer from Long Beach to a different university. So
where are you going to go?
Maybe going up north.
Whereabouts?
Huh?
Whereabouts? What school?
I'm applying to Berkeley.
Are you? Oh, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that. not my favorite campus, and they don't like me either. I'm a graduate of University of California at Riverside.
Okay.
There were 900 of us and 400 professors in those days. I was able to hobble my horse and ride my horse to campus and allow it to just graze on the grass. Mm-hmm. I understand there's 13,000 students there who have little or no power. When we were there, we had power, and we had a very close relationship with our professors because it was damn near 2-to-1, you know. Mm-hmm. So those were good days. And
I think it's an interesting idea that you brought up about, I guess, in a way, about too much information being a bad thing. And
hey, folks, this is Bill from meetthevoter.com and also New Media Gold. Hey, this is amazing. We have Chuck on. Chuck has been in the radio broadcasting for 10, 11 years. This new format is amazing. We reached out across the world. And every Sunday, we'll be back up with a panel in the morning. We want to record about 30 minutes and then let the dialogue flow and let people discuss their opinions. We watch Meet the Press, and then we come up and talk about it shortly. Then we'll have one specific topic. Hey, Chuck, thank you for coming on. And
it's a pleasure, Bill.
We went out.
We've been together on a couple of other episodes, not on Meet the Voter, but I'm just, I've said it 100 times on Blab, but this is just so fascinating that we as people around the world have an opportunity to meet and greet, share ideas, argue, agree, do whatever we want to do. And this technology is amazing. I just hope that it does not become abused and that it works against us.
Hey, one last thing. I just want to say that a lot of the podcasters have not jumped on this. I mean, the big guys. Right. And I've done a forcing function to do all our podcasts through this media. So it's really a much easier platform for the average person to understand and get on and create.
It is.
That acquires them to have more interest in you. They're going to do whatever they can to try to take you. And that's basically how that came about with me. And so, I mean, I'm proud of everything that's going on, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that, we don't agree with, even though we try to do the best that we can to prevent and to save others.
Well, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. I'm recording right now. I'm going to take this on and off. I just want to put a little bleep on with the folks that come on. But, I want to say you're brave with your position coming online right now, because I understand the consequences. One thing is, at least 2 weeks ago, I think, through LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you can tell who checks your site if you have the right site. Mm-hmm. And all I knew, it said that Department of Justice looked at my profile. So I thought that was kind of unique. And you know what kind of clearances I used to have. They just expired about 2 months ago, my TS.
Oh, man.
So I got to be careful still.
Yes, we do have to be careful. I mean, because even if they expire, there's still a 2-year mark after the expiration date that you're still on the radar, Well, I still have my secret. I know the 7-year rule, but even goes 50 years on some things. Yeah. So, Asim, where are you from and what country, what area?
Yeah, I'm actually from Arab area. I'm actually from Yemen.
Oh, Yemen. Wow.
Yeah,
you've got good internet coming in from Yemen.
Yeah, I'm from Yemen, and I know the situation. We face the problem of ISIS, and we hate killing the people. We had to be our area and instability situation and the war, killing. Yeah. But actually, also we had what they did in French. But actually, if you think behind what they think about, I mean, if you think like them, like the ISIS, you will find them they are only as a reaction event or as a reaction. They think that France is attacked them in Iraq, so they will have to defend it by themselves to attack France in their country. I think that's the way they are thinking. I have been talking with some of them, and they say like that. They say like they are just defending themselves. Of course, killing the normal people, it's not, I mean, I'm not agree with them totally, but I want to maybe to get, about how they think about what they did.
Asim, your English is excellent. What do you do for a living?
For living, I'm postgraduate student. Nowadays, I'm studying in Malaysia. That's maybe after I finish my study, I will go back to my country. I will try to help them. I will try to make something that make it change the people education, or maybe change the people mentally how they think.
Because so you're in Malaysia right now?
Yeah, I'm in Malaysia right now.
Yeah. Okay, very good. I understand.
Actually, our problem is not ISIS. Our problem is education. Our problem is how to know about Democrats, because they don't know about Democrats. So when you apply the Democrats and the people, they don't understand the basic concept of Democrats. Of course, it will be dangerous for them, and that's what's happening in our country. The Democrats' country in area is failed. But
You know, I recorded
so
that. I'm back
interesting.
on recording. So that was pretty amazing having his first.
He's in the militia. Is that what he said?
No, possibly.
yeah,
You're back, Asim. So
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
studying? What are you studying in Malaysia right now?
I'm studying computer science.
Oh, very good. Very smart. Hey, you know, education generally breaks the cycle of poverty or ignorance. The better educated the world is, the better we all are off.
Yeah, of course. That's also the way of the thinking. It will be changed when you have education, and when you educate the people, they will change the way of the thinking. It will be changed about regarding to the world and also regarding to the life itself. But since our problem is education problem, I think it will not go in solving the ASOS by war them or by free. I mean, make the by fighting the ASOS. What we have to do is, I think, if the government want to solve this problem, it should, I think about the people life, because in our country, the majority of the country is very poor people. If you look to Iraq, if you look to Yemen, if you look to Syria, if you look to Somalia, if you look to all the other countries, you will find that they are very poor people and they don't have life to lose. So they are already joined the ASOS because they think the life is nothing. They don't have something to lose. So they join. Maybe they will get a better solution or better life when they join the ASOS. That's the main reason.
You know, but also people in America have joined too. People in France have joined, but not to the same extent.
Yeah. That's the other thing is regarding to the religion concepts. That's the one part that we have two. I mean, the problem can be divided into two parts. The first part is the situation in our country. They became upset regarding to what's USA and France and all this doing with our country since maybe 10 or 100 years ago. We are in the
that Euro Maestro is, I think he's on Periscope.
Yeah,
I am
don't
on
know how he's doing
Periscope.
it, but it looks like Paris.
It is
Yeah, that is
Paris.
Paris. It is Paris.
And I've been scoping.
Oh, thank him. I'm going to turn some sound back on to see if we can hear him.
I've been Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've been scoping since day one, and I live in Paris, so it's mostly Paris. But I've also scope other cities when I'm traveling, and of course, the last few days the scopes, since Friday night, have been centering on this incredible tragedy. Today, I interviewed John Berman from CNN. I interviewed Christiane Amanpour. I interviewed a survivor from the concert hall who had a incredibly gripping story explaining the events from his perspective. And I've interviewed a whole score of people over the last 3 days.
What is your
who
name?
had different experiences. Euro Maestro.
Euro, okay, that is okay. Got it. Sometimes that's very good. Hey, we're on Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com on every Sunday morning at 9:30 Pacific Coast time.
Okay.
I don't know what that is in Greenwich time, but
you said 9:30 Pacific.
What time is it there now? Yeah.
So that would be 18:30 Paris time.
Okay.
We're 9 hours ahead of Pacific.
Okay. So where are you from?
So
Euro.
Paris.
Are you Parisian?
Yeah.
There was somebody. I think it was yesterday or the day before last night. It was in the morning. Somebody was live on Periscope, and he had a list of people to follow to be able to.
Oh yeah, that's Bragg.
Bragg, yeah, it was Bragg.
He creates a list, but that was just basically everybody in Paris.
Right. I mean, yours was the top of the line. Yours is the number one.
Yeah, I'm the number one scoper in France, and actually like one of the top in the world.
Wow.
So yeah, I was cited in the Wall Street Journal as one of the 4 top live streaming stars in the world, and
That's
I
cool,
was interviewed by Huffington Post Live and BBC and.
Hey, can I
so
interview you on Timeline? Yeah. I have an interview show. I'd love to have you on. It's a 30-minute show.
Sure. Send me a message on Twitter.
I will.
At Euro Maestro, yeah. So, and I've also, I just recently went to Dubai, and I did a scope there for a week, and I brought a whole bunch of scopers along with me, and we just did crazy tourism stuff. So we did skydiving and snowboarding and skiing and camelback riding, and all 5-star hotels. I mean, it was just basically luxury meets adventure in Dubai, and we were invited by the government there, and afterwards we found out they told us that it was their most successful campaign ever.
That's
so that
amazing.
was pretty good. Yeah.
You have no accent.
Well, thank you, I guess. I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
Where were you raised?
Well, I've kind of lived all over because when I was young we had to move and stuff. So I lived in New York, and I lived in London.
New York.
Yeah, New York.
And you're Parisian. You were born in Paris, or
well, I kind of like I said, I consider myself primarily European because I live in Paris, but I did have the opportunity to live in different places.
Yeah.
Growing up, so I've been to a few places. I've been to Japan and Egypt and a lot of other places.
What do you think about the attack? What were you doing during the attack?
Well, it was interesting. So I'm a scoper now. So every day I scope. So that's a live broadcast using the live streaming service on Twitter, if people aren't familiar with Periscope. And so that day I was scoping Disneyland Paris. Mm-hmm. I was scoping, they had a parade there and fireworks. And because of this time of year, the Disneyland park closes very early during the weekdays. So normally I'd stay there very late. Normally I'd have dinner there, but that particular night I chose, and I told people in my broadcast, I'm not going to have dinner here at Disneyland. I'm going to go into the city. So I actually went into the city at that time, just prior to the shootings, in that same area. And it's interesting because if I had stayed like I normally would in dinner, I would have actually been at the probably been in the area of those shootings. But as luck had it, I actually ended up getting there earlier, eating and getting out. So I was, by the time the shootings took place, I was probably a good 20 or 30 minutes away. And but I had just been there like 30 minutes earlier. So I kind of got saved. Actually, the guy I interviewed today had a very interesting story because he was at the concert and he was on the ground floor of the concert. So, it's this concert hall had 2 floors. There was a balcony and then the ground floor. And a lot of the people that were on the ground floor, of course, were killed. And quite a few of the survivors came from the balcony. So he was on the ground.
Nobody from the ground floor survived?
What's that? Nobody
from the ground floor survived? There was only people from balcony who made it?
No, people survived from both floors. But a lot of the deaths occurred on the ground floor because when they came in, they were shooting people on the ground floor, and they apparently they had a couple of guys act as like crowd control, preventing people from leaving, and they just kind of decimated the crowd. And then the people that had survived or weren't killed immediately, they had rounded up a whole bunch of them and put them in the front of the room, right in front of the stage. They're holding them hostage. But then they later mowed those people down as well. This guy was on the ground floor. And what happened was he wanted to dance, and the place was so crowded. There was like 1,500 people in there, apparently. And or that's what he said, 1,500, which is the capacity of the place. And he wanted to dance, and there was no space to dance downstairs. So he went upstairs to the balcony just to dance. And so he says, dancing saved his life, which in this case it kind of did. So he went upstairs and he was dancing, and he said it was very hot, so he took off his shirt. And he said the same thing that a lot of the other survivors had said that were on that first floor balcony, is when the shots first came in and they heard the shots, they didn't realize it was gunshots. And Some of them thought it was part of the show. Some thought it was like, firecrackers or something. So they said, when they first started hearing it, they actually didn't panic. They weren't afraid because they thought that it was somehow related to the show. And then, of course, they quickly became aware it wasn't, and they heard the screaming and all the pandemonium. So he explained how he rushed down the stairs, and he found this door that led to a small room. It's a room of only about 10 square meters. And he hid in that room. And some people followed him into the room. So he said there was a total of about 15 or 16 of them in that very small room. And there was a small refrigerator in there. So they pushed that refrigerator up against the door. And they hung out in that room. And they waited. And he said that they heard the machine gun fire for about going on and off for about an hour and a half's time. And they were stuck in that room for 3 hours. If you can imagine, a very small room. And when the police finally raided, they heard the police coming in and they heard the exchange of fire with the police once again. And he said there were times, for instance, of course, they all had to be quiet during this whole time because they didn't want to make any noise. He said at one point, he had his back up against the wall, and the bullets came right into the wall. And he said he could feel, I guess, the pressure or whatever of the bullets coming into the wall. And he said it was very scary because, he was afraid a bullet would go through and actually kill him. So, anyways, I interviewed it. It's all up on Periscope. If you guys have Periscope, you can see my interview of him, one in French and one in English.
That's intense. That's very intense.
That's
hey,
wild.
The Periscope.
Go ahead.
They said that some people had Periscope on inside and left their phones on with Periscope actually getting signal. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, I've actually watched some of those scopes. So one woman, what she had done was she had scoped the whole thing pretty much because she scoped it as a fan, right? Just because she liked the group and she was showing the concert. So this was before the shooting occurred. So she was up on this one particular scope I saw. She was up on the balcony. She's shooting down, showing the band performing on the stage. She shows quite a bit of their performance, and then her footage changes pretty dramatically. You can see she's obviously leaving. I don't know if it's related to the bullets or not, but I think it might be. But you can see her leaving the balcony area and rushing towards the stairs and going down the stairs, and you can see the camera's just going from one angle to the next. So it's not, she's obviously just leaving. She's not concerned about the camera shots anymore. And you can just see people running around and stuff. And then it just goes out. And so a lot of people contacted me because nobody's heard from her since. Apparently, normally she tweets quite a bit. And there's no tweets from her after this Periscope footage. So a lot of people are concerned what happened to her. So I'm trying to find out. I haven't heard anything yet. So a friend of mine had two of their friends at the concert who survived. And there's this girl and another girl who were both scoping from there that we haven't heard anything yet from them. So we're hoping they're alive and well. There's still 30 bodies they have that have not been identified, though. So we know there's about 130 people died, or 132, I think, is the latest count. 30 of them are not identified. So we'll have to wait and see. But she may be alive and well. She might be one of the 300 people that were wounded. Almost 100 of them critically. So we just don't know yet.
How about the band? I understand that band survived. How did they survive? Or did one or two of the support members get killed? I understand only one American was killed.
There was one American killed who was a student that was here just for one semester. So it was very unfortunate, from California. And so that's the only American that I'm familiar with that died. The band did survive. However, there was one person related to the band that was killed, which apparently was a merchandising manager who was selling goods related to the band. I think he's from the UK, and that person was killed.
Wow. Kleb, can you imagine the intelligence that you can gather from these tools inside?
I know, it's intense. I mean, even the wording and the sound of who was there, because I mean, does anybody actually know who was fully responsible? Because
it's Daesh.
Daesh. You say Daesh instead of ISIS?
Yes.
Same thing.
ISIS, yeah.
Same thing, Daesh.
Same thing,
ISIS.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, the report, I mean, shit. Let me see this real quick. Hold on.
So I'm curious, you used the word Daesh. You know, ISIS.
Yes.
Daesh is relatively new. It's still there.
Well, it's relatively new for you guys, maybe. That's the standard name that we've always used over here.
Really? Interesting.
That's the name that's used in the Middle East and used in Europe, basically.
It's good to clarify that. I hadn't heard that before.
Well, Daesh is just it's in Arabic, okay, and Daesh is actually how can I explain it? It's Arabic. It's taken from the initials of the name of the Islamic State in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
So just like ISIS is, what is it, Islamic State or something like that?
ISIS stands for Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or Syria and Iraq.
Okay, right. So those are the initials in English. So Daesh is the exact same thing,
but
the initials in Arabic.
Yeah, I was taught with Levant is a bigger geographical area that has a older associated name, Levant.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But what's interesting about this Daesh name is it's the Arabic initials, but it's a name that is used in the Middle East. It's considered derogatory, even though it's exactly the same as ISIS.
Yeah.
And Daesh does not like when people use that name. So people, a lot of people in the Middle East, if they're against ISIS, they use that name Daesh. And it's the official name used in France and in most of Europe.
The president used it today or yesterday, the president of the United States. So,
that's interesting. I'm sure it's got to be new for the Americans, but
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
because
but it's just another ISIS, and it's more recognizable to the Arab-speaking world.
I was reading this thing that came into our briefing. I mean, obviously I can't say everything that I read, but usually ISIS are really fast and putting out that they are responsible for something. They wouldn't wait. There's no time limit. So that's why there's some concern. Some intel information is concerned in regards to that, to why they waited a certain amount of time to say, "Oh yeah, we're responsible for this." When they're known for doing that automatically. They want the fear in people fast enough for them to realize it's them. They don't wait. That's why it's kind of off.
That's a great point. I was wondering about that myself. The thing that was interesting was the French government relatively quickly had come to a determination that it was Daesh. And then there was a Daesh video that was released, or a new ISIS video that was released just a few hours later, and the next morning, where they called all Muslims who are unable to go to Syria to go to France and continue the fighting in France.
Daesh al-Dawla il-Salmald fi Iraq wal al-Sham.
Do you work for the intelligence services? Is that what you're saying?
Are you talking to Bill or to me?
I'm
to
out
you,
of
it sounded like.
I'm not in the business right now.
I'm still in the business.
Okay. And which
is,
country? Which country are you based in?
U.S.
Okay, because I was on a show recently, a national news show, and I was on a panel, and one of the other panel members was the ex CIA station chief for Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
like
wow.
I know Gary Bernstein, who was pretty active, but not in Paris.
You know Bernstein for real?
Yeah, I know. I worked with him. We were in the Lagman together.
Wow.
On Boots on the Ground. We talked. We had some nice conversations. When you're boots on the ground, you know?
Yeah.
You know what the DFAC is, right? Or wherever you might be. That's a small fob. I learned a lot from Gary. Also, we had the same boss at one time. We both had a 3-star general who is the one who called off the Rangers from going into Tora Bora. General Daly. He was my boss for a while, too.
My boss, in direct line of where I was, it was Leon Panetta.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Directly, like direct chain of command up to him.
I liked him.
I liked him too. He was really, really down to earth, really smart guy.
And he lives in California. He lives in Carmel Valley. Nice guy.
A nice guy.
Sorry about the keep on going. You're up. Sorry to interrupt you. We got
No. I'm sorry. I was interrupting, but I just wanted to say that because I get quite a few viewers, of course, in my scope, and amongst them, I have a few people that actually work in the intelligence community, and a couple of them are former intelligence community people, and oftentimes they DM me some very interesting information or analysis and links that can help me, and sometimes some of my footage helps them for some things, so it's kind of interesting.
There's I can't say too much, but there's non-classified social media, which is very helpful.
Right.
I'm always scared that what you can say and what you can do, even though I do podcasts now for a living. I do biographies.
Well, the Secret Service, they gave me a little medallion a few years ago in Paris. I did some I don't know how to say this. I did some work to help them. They had a Secretary of State coming into Paris, and the advance team came out, and they were doing some of the logistics and scoping out the places where she was going to have these meetings and whatnot. And so I had several meetings with them to discuss some of the logistics.
Oh yeah.
So I kept it. It's a nice souvenir,
In 2004, I get to be military liaison between the Republican and Democrat conventions. Work up.
Oh wow!
It was a lot of fun. The Democrats were at the Fleet Center in Boston, and the Republicans 3 or 4 months later were in New York and Manhattan. So,
oh wow! I
was in that pre-team gathering information, working mostly how the military might be able to use Title 32. Which is how we get the reserve and the guard in if there's a terrorist attack. It's very complicated in the United States, the process that we use. Because we have the sheriff has authority with the governor, of course. For going on and off. So it's we have a lot of rules. Where in other parts of the world, you have the army blend in with the police, like in France. The army is very close. I also spent a year with the French in Afghanistan, embedded.
Oh, I should tell you what happened today. You guys might be interested in this. I was over at the Place de la République, which is like one of the main central squares in Paris, public squares. And it is a place where people go to do a vigil, basically, and to commemorate these people that died and whatnot. And so I was there with maybe thousands of people, and they were lighting candles and giving flowers and messages and all this kind of stuff and singing songs. And I was scoping live. CNN was there. That's where I interviewed the CNN people I think I mentioned earlier. And all of a sudden, as I'm doing the broadcast live and I'm showing the area, across the street from the square, suddenly I saw all of these people running as fast as they can and everybody running in the same direction away from something, and everybody is screaming, and they're saying, shots and all this kind of stuff, and you can just see, this whole crowd, everybody goes into a panic now, and everybody runs in the same direction away from the square. And so I started running with them too, because I was like, I don't know what's going on, and the police, of course, the police and the military are there, and they start. This is the first time I've ever actually seen them do this, where they actually were drawing their guns, pointing in this direction from which everybody was running away from, and they quickly. Some of the officers, were manning their posts, I guess, in defense, and others were escorting us out and into the metro. And so they totally cleared that square so incredibly fast. And so they forced us to go underground into the metro. I kind of stayed near the top of the stairs. Everybody else went way under as far as they could. So I continued scoping from the top of the stairs to, to see what was coming, through a little hole in the railing there, and I filmed the police. So it was very tense moment, very scary, and we stayed down there for quite a few minutes while they secured the area. Turns out it looks like it was a false alarm, but
not many people are on the streets right now. What time is it there? Not many people are on the streets. What time?
Oh, well, I'm right now. Let's see. I'm not even sure what time it is. Let me get out my iPad. But the thing is, I'm not in center Paris. I'm in a little suburb here, way outside of Paris. So there's never anybody on this street. In fact, I don't know if you can see. There's only trees on the street. There's no houses. There's no buildings. So I'm like basically almost as close to wilderness as you can get right now.
What are you walking home?
Yeah, actually, this friend of mine lives out here in the suburbs. So the last few days I've been staying out here at night. But you can see there's not even street lights on this street. So I don't know if you can see it. That's how deserted this area is. It's just literally trees and fields. There's no street lights. I don't know if you can see. That's why it's so dark.
Arrow.
Yeah.
If you can see this guy right here to the right, Tom Chase, he's over there. These guys are funny. He's over there crying that you're not in Paris.
Who is?
Some guy right here named Tom Chase. He's saying that you...
No, where do I see that?
Right. Oh, man, I don't know. It's
He's
on the
with
right
you.
side.
He's next to you,
it's
right?
in the... Oh, now I see it.
Down
It's
below.
below me. Okay. Yeah, Shirley in the suburb. Yes, I am in the suburbs right now. That's correct. But all day long, I've been scoping from the very center of Paris, in and around the...
¿Cuántos estudiantes dicen? ¿Students? ¿Cuántos students en lo de Paris?
No sé cuántos estudiantes.
Oh, my goodness. More last-minute news about U.S. students that are in the list of the ones that passed away in Paris.
Hey, Club, are you
so
in
there's more now?
What was that?
Are you in a
You said there's more Americans now?
Yeah, students, U.S. students who were in the list.
Yeah, but I
Just
didn't know
came
how
out.
that's possible because
I don't know either.
unless they were part of those 30 bodies that weren't identified previously. So it must be that.
Yeah, it's probably. I hope. Yep. Well, it's recording now.
Oh, I'll take it. I just put it back on. It was off. It was not recording a minute ago. I turned it off.
Oh man, that's crazy.
No, I'm on a free network. I'm free. I have still limits, but I'm still free. I have freedom of speech, analysis, and it's just such a strange world. I can tell you a little bit about what countries do and how they turn off social media too.
Oh man, the thing is that this country uses the
Like
term
China.
of freedom of speech. Oh yeah, that's a really good example. China does that a lot.
They turn it on and off.
And Korea does that too. They do that all the time, every day.
North Korea doesn't even have the social media per se.
They do
South
have a
Korea.
social media.
Limit. I don't know much. I know I was in South Korea for a year once, cav officer, but
They
not
have-
doing this.
They have their own social media, but nothing gets leaked. The people who leak anything, And it's really sad. They don't like leaking anything over there. Anything that gets leaked from up there to the south or anywhere else, it's over.
Yeah. I go to something called Word Camps with Jonathan Denwood, who is from WP Tonic. We do a tech show on WordPress, and you learn a lot. In the Word Camps, they gave us a brief in LA Word Camp, about the different countries and how they handle the social media and how they've locked it down. Since the what happened in Egypt.
Yeah.
The awakening. Hero, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
You're all dark.
Oh, am I dark?
Yeah.
Oh, you know why? Because I'm trying to type into the comments.
Okay.
Why, is that not good?
No, it's okay.
No, you're good.
Because Club is laughing.
Someone asked a question. They go on the left side now. Things are changing all the time. So, Club, when did you guys start getting up on this platform, on Blab?
I started. Well, this is the first time in regards of this that I'm actually talking to you and everybody who's on here right now.
I think we're the first to start a political show on Sunday mornings.
Oh wow! Maybe I should show up to one of those.
Meetthepeople.com right after Meet the Press.
Okay.
We talk for 10 minutes about Meet the Press, what's happening, and then we usually bring a guest in to talk about one specific issue. I just set that website on. I need to work on it. It's one of my 17. I just flipped it up. I'm going to flip this up in iTunes today. This will be the first iTunes this is the 5th episode.
Can you write the name of the website?
So
for a week to showcase their city, but just prior to going, they had turned off Periscope, which was interesting. But luckily, it was turned on before the time that we got on there. And when I got interviewed by one of the newspapers out there, and the first thing that struck me was the reporter said she had done her first live broadcast that day. So it really shocked me.
Hey, how do you think this kind of media, which this is all new within the year, Periscope and this live streaming, how do you think this media is going to affect the future of politics and voting?
Were you talking to me? I'm sorry.
You're anybody.
Oh, I didn't know who that was directed to.
Sorry.
I think it will affect politics in the sense that what we're seeing happening is more and more events that shape opinion are actually being filmed live, and the live coverage is changing the way people perceive events. So you go back to, for instance, to the Iran-Contra scandal, and that was they televised the hearings with Ali North, and the public opinion changed dramatically from the first day of the coverage because of his handling and his comportment, and it changed from incredibly negative to positive. Had that not been televised, it would have been a totally different public opinion, and we've seen that over and over again.
Oh my goodness, this is not good.
What's happening?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, new footage is coming out right now. Is that CNN gonna edit that, or what the hell are they doing? About the theater. There's some videos like what you were saying, Arrow, about the videos of people having Periscope. In the theater, there's already footages of that coming out right now, and there's some stuff in the street.
Uh-oh.
And that needs
car backing up here.
I need to edit that. Tell them to call right now. Central Section 2 and
Hello?
Hey, Club, you'll understand.
What's wrong?
Yeah, what's up? What's going on?
Castilla? Come on.
He's talking in French.
No.
Oh no, he's talking in Spanish. Wow.
Euro?
Hey guys, I have a problem here.
What's going on?
Some cars pulled up.
Yeah, he's talking in Spanish.
No, ça va, merci.
No.
It's French.
Uh-oh.
Now it's French.
Guys, I have a problem.
What's going on?
Oh my God, some car is chasing me.
What?
Car is chasing me.
Where is your location? Give us a street number and a location.
Okay.
Aeromeister, let me see where.
He's
Section
behind
2, Section 245, where SMID,
Oh my God.
mentioned in Section 249.
Wow, I can't believe that. I've never had that happen. That was pretty scary.
Wow.
So this car, I mean, I'm like in the middle of nowhere. There's no cars here. And so the first thing he did was very suspicious. He pulled up. He drove, I don't know if you saw it, but he drove backwards several hundred meters. And then he spun the car around right towards me. And he asked me in French if I wanted a beer. I'm like, no, I don't want anything. And he wouldn't leave me alone. So I just walked up and went the other direction. He turned his car around again. So he changed direction basically 4 times. And I ran behind this gate here. And he pulled up. And he finally took off.
Did you get any news from France, Euro? Because right now there's the Air Force, the French Air Force has just unleashed the strikes on Syria as we speak right now.
Oh yes, I heard about this earlier. So 10 French. Can you hear me?
That's about now.
Yeah, we
I don't know if you can hear me. My mic dropped.
Like, are you okay though?
I'm okay. I'm okay now. Did you hear me describe what this guy did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So what I had heard about the French earlier is that at least 10 French jets dropped 20 bombs over Syria near Raqqa. The first set of bombs ended up destroying a command center, a recruitment center, and another facility. I can't think of what it is offhand. And then there was a second series of bombs that destroyed a training camp area. There's no vehicles clear, and there's nobody inside of the. So, I had heard that quite a while ago, though. But I should have reported that, but I thought you guys knew about that.
No, NBC News 43 minutes ago reported the launch of a massive airstrike from ISIS against ISIS in Syria.
Yeah. It's going on right now, but
Well, it's 43. I mean,
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you guys see me though?
Who has the scanner information going on? I hear background scanner.
I do. I have mine on right now.
That's fine. I tried to isolate it. That's fine.
No,
if anyone's in,
I'm gonna take a picture of what you. Okay, hold on a quick second. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this.
Take a cam twist.
Do me a favor and stop recording.
This area has 0 cars. So.
Well, apparently not.
Okay, yeah. So this is not the same car. So that's good.
What are you using right now to record with your phone? What kind of phone?
I'm using an iPhone 6 Plus.
Oh, nice. That's the way to go. I want one. My wife got the rigger 6. Now? You're right on blab, so you're not periscoping right now, right?
No, right now I'm just blabbing.
Yeah. Wow, it's
I've
doing
been
real
basically periscoping all day. Yeah, unfortunately, where I am, there's absolutely nothing interesting to show.
Well, come back and record anytime.
Yeah.
I can email me, vice versa. And
okay.
Hasim has been very quiet. Hasim.
I know, he's just enjoying the cast.
Yeah, I just enjoy, and if there are some questions I can answer, so I try to join your conversation.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's because of maybe English limitation. Yeah, maybe that.
No, you speak well, and no act.
Yeah, actually, before that, you had a question about the factors that make tourism. No one is created as or is born as tourism.
Why do you think people become terrorists or fight?
I think that's it. Depending, I think, to the situation. In my opinion, it's related to the situation, and also to the religion itself.
Interesting. So you're a Muslim, I take it from.
Yeah, I am Muslim, but if I know the Islam from the way of ISIS, of course I will convert to another religion. But since I know the Islam from the different part, I know the Islam from the different part that is totally different from the ISIS. Yeah, I'm talking with you is frankly, I say that if I know the Islam from the same way as the ISIS, of course I will convert it because it's unacceptable logical. Maybe if I don't have any education, I will be accepted ISIS because they give me, a nice talk, and they give, they mention that they want to return back Khilafah again. They want to return back to the time of maybe our Prophet. The sound they say is very great, but when I had educated and I immigrated to another country, I moved to another country and see the other people, I meet other different culture. It make my mind is open, and when I try to review or maybe to check again the idea of the ISIS, I found it cannot be accepted as a human being.
So are you?
I'm Sunni. Yeah, I'm Sunni.
It's war.
I'm Sunni. Yeah, I'm Sunni. You know, we have a 5 times we say 5 times we say the pieces in our prayer. So what's the meaning of pieces? That's meaning Assalamu alaikum. So 5 times we mention about the pieces in our prayer. When we meet the people, we have to say Assalamu alaikum, which also is peace upon you.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, that is called peace upon you. It's not like hi. Hi is maybe normal way, but when I say Assalamu alaikum, it will give you different meaning. That's meaning I will not make anything happen to you when I say Assalamu alaikum. So that's the meaning. So the one that he's not saying Assalamu alaikum, you have to be afraid from him. Because when the people say Assalamu alaikum, that is from you, he will be pieces with you. So we say peace. We say the pieces 5 times in the prayer. We say the pieces when we meet the people. We say the pieces, the name of the God every day. So that's mean the Islam itself is want the people to keep the peace, to live in together.
Yes. Very much true. What you said. And I know a lot of Muslims very closely, but ISIS is a whole different case.
Yeah, it's misunderstanding. If you read the history of Arab country, the history of the Islamic Islam, you'll find this part of people is coming at the time of our Prophet, and they know how they work with them. They fighting them, and they say to us, these people. And he mentioned in his speech, in his speech, he mentioned about these people, and he mentioned a lot about what they will come, and he mentioned also, he gave us also the evidence for what they will do, and what's their character, and what they will look over. Yeah, he gave us all, lectures for these people. But since the normal people, the community doesn't have educated well, so they are believing that they are what is right.
Right.
Yeah, the second thing is also the situation. The situation is very often in our country. It's unbelievable. Since we got the independence, so we don't have education. There are no education. There are no jobs. We are maybe useless. We are unemployed. Most of the people unemployed. So that situation also carried the people to believe in Daesh, because what is the demographics is coming to us, it's something awful.
Right.
Agreed.
When you understand the culture,
Wali, which is unique.
Yeah. When you understand,
very similar. And Assalamu alaikum, of course.
Alaikum salam.
It's not a religion. It's not as a religion expression. It's as a normal expression. The Islam, you want our words to be careful. The Islam is not like just we pray only. No, it teaches us how to treat the people, how to talk nice, how we do not cheat the people. So it is like philosophy. You can consider the Islam is a philosophy.
It's a religion and a philosophy mixed. How about Sharia law? Different countries interpret Sharia law differently. How do you feel about Sharia law? Sharia law. Sharia law.
Sharia law. The majority, if you Sharia law according to the Islam rule.
Yes.
According to the Islam rule, French law.
French law?
Yeah.
I know English law better, or common law.
Okay, the common law. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that.
I know French law.
I know.
The French law,
I know a little about in New Orleans. Louisiana has a little more French.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. 18% of French law. 18% of French law. It is the same as what the Islam is saying. 18%. So only the 20% is the difference. That is it is. Yeah, it's related to the family, because the Islam is coming to concern the family is the biggest thing in the Islam. So whatever regarding to the family and to other things, it should be considered as the first thing. So the part that is concerned, that is related to the family, it is the difference between Arab culture and maybe Arab culture or Islam culture. The part is related to the family.
I understand what you're saying. I know that Sharia law is connected with a family unit, and it goes on the social. They socially take care of the family, and let's see Nora here.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. I understand that part. In Afghanistan, again, understand Afghanistan a little better. Hi, Nora. Where are you coming from?
Hi. I'm from Malaysia. Yeah, and I scope about Islam and Quran a lot on scope. So I think this is something which is very interesting for me as a Muslim, as well as someone who believes that terrorism does not equate to Islam. And that is something that I would like to spread to people.
You're very brave. It's very good.
Yep. Thank you. So basically what I do is since the Parisian attack, so there has been some people who misunderstood what is the Islamic teaching all about. And I think that is the reason why I believe that there's people to ISIS is not equated to Islam. Basically, what ISIS do is they actually manipulate the religion, and they basically divert
she
people
froze.
Sorry? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Very good.
So basically what ISIS is doing, they are actually manipulating the religion to taint the real teaching of Islam, because violence is Islam. And this is the reason why when ISIS, Taliban, and are diverting the whole true teaching of Islam. And this is something which I think people need to know, that Islam does not promote violence and Islam is against terrorism. Yeah. So that's my view.
I agree with what you said. I have a lot of friends who are Muslims here in Reno, Nevada. And also I served with Muslims and with the Jordanians at different times. And I absolutely agree what you said. But some people, I try to tell that ISIS is using Islam for their mechanism, but they are Muslims. The members in ISIS are Muslims. At least they say they are.
Yeah, but the problem, who's behind the ISIS? That's the main questions. If for example, in Iraq, who's behind them? Who's giving the weapon? Who supported them? Yeah, we have to know about. I am from Arab country, from Yemen. I see the idea of ISIS and the concept is a teaching in the mosque. So how they teach this concept in the mosque? Who is give him the ability or supported them to build the mosque and to spread their knowledge over the people, over the community?
Nor, do you want to follow up?
Yeah, I just would like to add as well, because yesterday, I have something to say, because yesterday there was this live telecast from the Mosque of Paris, from the Imam, where he actually make a formal press conference about the Parisian, the Muslim Parisian community about the Parisian attacks. So basically, what is being said by the Imam from the Parisian mosque is that violence is not being accepted for the Muslim community in Paris. And then there has been some claims saying that Umar, the one who's one of the attackers, is actually frequenting the mosque. But for now, what the Imam has said that there has yet been confirmed whether he is actually someone who frequented the mosque. And the misconception is saying that that he might be and the mosque might be associated with the terrorist attack. I would like to share here is that mosque is just a place for worship, and the mosque of Paris is not exactly the place where it's associated with the terrorism. That's what's being said in the live telecast from the mosque yesterday from Paris. Yeah.
So, who do you think is behind ISIS overall?
In my opinion, is the situation itself. The situation is the main thing to make the people join the ISIS. And the second thing is maybe the European government, maybe some of the European or maybe the USA, because they want the area is not they want the area not stable. That's the main point. They want the area is not stable. Yeah. So if you look to the situation of Iraq, you will find at the time of the Saddam Hussein there is no such thing between Shia and Sunnah, no such thing between tourism or these things. Yeah, of course we have a dictator president, but actually we are in the safe country. We still can live, we still can earn the money, we still can continue our business and our work. Nowadays, after the USA is coming to Iraq, it's destroyed everything. It's since that day until now we doesn't see any stable situation. And also, it is increasing the hating between Sunnah and Shia because she supported one part against the other part. So it became like hating. And also, they are given a lot of the TV channel. If you look to the Arabic TV channel, you will find 22 TV channel. It is spread the hating and it is supported ISIS. So who's give this channel who's this giving this channel a opportunity to be a pair to the to be and to communicate with the people, to communicate with the Muslim people in our country?
Good point.
Sometimes it's supported by the government itself. That's the situation. If you go back past maybe 20 years ago, after we get the independence, all the government they hate the Islam. They working against the Islam, and the people they love the Islam. In our area, Arab country, all the people is you can say religious people. They love the Islam and they want to pray. And that time after independence, the government it's like fighting the people to not pray, to not worship to the God. Maybe they fight it. They try to bring the Arab concept or maybe the Arab philosophy to be plugged in our culture. So the people hate that thing, but they cannot do anything because it is the government still have strong control the area. So after the situation of maybe 1990, the world is changed and the Russia is broken. The Union of Russia is broken, and maybe the USA it became as the first leader of the world. So that situation also changed the world in our country. And the ISIS is coming to spread to give them the idea of the Islam, where the people doesn't have any idea since 20 years ago. They didn't have any idea about the Islam, the basic rule of the Islam. They only come to pray because the government is fighting or maybe not allowed the people to talk about the Islam. So when they became open and the concept of Daesh come as the real Islam, so most of the people they believe on that and they follow them, and they still have a scholar, the mosque and scholar and many things. So they spread the concept of kafir and the concept of hating the people among the community. So now you will see there are a lot of the people supported Daesh. I hope you get my point.
Al Jazeera has interesting information today in Al Jazeera in English. Do you watch or listen to Al Jazeera?
Yeah, I watching to the Al Jazeera. I watched to the Al Jazeera, and I watch, but actually I watched to Al Jazeera in Arabic language, not in English.
Right.
But
right.
there are a lot of information regarding, but they are not talking about the main point. Who is gay? I mean, who is? He doesn't talking about the concept of ASOS. They don't talk about the concept, and if they talk about the concept, it became like too late.
Yeah, one of the quotes they have today on the front page is, "The crimes committed in the name of Jesus are so vast and heinous that it would take volumes just to highlight them." Well, that's not in modern days per se. It's an interesting perspective. It's always good to look at all sides of the news.
You mean?
Yeah, can I comment on that?
You're still in, but your audio only. It's a weaker signal, but we can hear you, Nora.
Yeah. So basically, they're doing in using violence and using crime, using create carnage to divide mankind. I'm not saying this is an issue. It's not talking about the issue of Muslim. It's not just talking issue about Christianity. It's not talking it's not issues. It's actually hijacking mankind, hijacking humanity, because this thing is going to affect everybody, all walk of life. And I believe that we cannot solve this alone. As a Muslim community, as a Christian community, we have to work as a one voice. That's the only way this can solve. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Let me tell you another quote that comes out today in Al Jazeera. It says, this is interesting. ISIL wages its war against the gray zone, where people of all faiths interact, coexist, and even shape each other. It's worth noting that the strategy was inspired not by the Quran, but instead by George W. Bush. Most Americans would not agree with that, I believe.
Yeah, of course. If you not, if you not define the problem accurately, we will not solve the problem. The problem, right. What we have a problem, we have a religion part of the problem, and we have also situation problem. If we don't solve the situation problem, and we finish this war, and the life in the Arab area it became stable, and also we don't fighting the scientists, the Islamic scientists who teaching the people, the wrong concept of the Islam, we cannot finish, or we cannot eliminate the ISIS from the area. So what is Al Jazeera is saying, it can be acceptable if they say it's supported by the USA, but it's created by the USA. I don't believe that.
Right. So, that said, I can say that when the United States was attacked, what should have the United States done?
Yeah, that's what's.
Go ahead. You can go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah. Because I'm okay. What the United States is I think it did mistakes. Maybe big mistakes, because after that it was make a decision to fighting Taliban in Afghanistan, and it made a decision to fighting Saddam Hussein in Iraq. So that's make also the people hate the USA, because the people believe that since the people are educated as the ASOS concept for a long time, most of our mosque is controlled by that. So since the people, they think like ASOS, so they think that the Taliban is the right way to represent the Islam, and they think that the Taliban, it will be built a country that follow the Islam and maybe developed country. So when the USA fighting the Taliban, so they believe that the USA is fighting the Islam itself. That's one thing. The second thing, when it coming to Iraq, so when it coming to Iraq, it's like supported Shia against Sunnah. So the area, they understand that the fighting of USA against Iraq, they understand that as USA is supported Shia, and as the Arab country, all the Arab country is Sunnah. So they are hating USA.
Yeah, I understand. Hi, Laura. Where are you from? Laura Henderson. Can you hear us? Laurel is frozen. So I'm going to open her seat back up since she's frozen right now. You're welcome to come back on.
I hope. So what's your opinion about the ISIS?
Oh, that's a tough one. ISIS, I think, is terrible. It's terrible for Muslims. It's terrible for the world. And it has to be destroyed. I mean, is that an opinion? It's sort of an action.
Yeah. That's also my opinion. But do you think the USA and France, they are, serious to destroy it or to eliminate the ISIS?
Serious? I would hope so. It depends on who the president is. I saw the policies change from the Bush administration to the Obama administration. They have 5,000 appointments. They're GS-14s. And you see that people cycle over with the State Department changing the policies and procedures. The other things that happen, we have a lot of contractors.
That's only just meeting. They don't do anything in the air. Do you think that the Daesh is very big, soldier or army to be living for more than 2 years now in the Iraq? If the USA and the France, they want to eliminate it, isn't it easy for them to eliminate it? You see how Russia is eliminated the Daesh in Syria only for maybe 1 month ago?
What do you think of Russia?
I think the Russia, they just want to protect her extended in the Arab area. That's all. So when Russia is afraid about, the government of Bashar al-Assad, and Bashar al-Assad is nearly to be lost and to be lost the control in the earth. So the Russia decided to be attendant or join the war. And when it is decided to do that, she decided she take it as serious. So you see, within 1 month, the Syria army, they controlled more than 500 kilometers. They even controlled the main point that Daesh controlled. But the USA and Iraq itself and the government of Iraq and also maybe the French, the other Arab countries, they are not serious to fighting the ISIS. They are just want the war to be continuous like that. They want the situation as longer as possible to be like that situation.
Who wants to be long? Who do you think wants to continue the war?
USA and the Arab government. They want the area to be continuous as longer as possible to be an stable area.
I don't think that's true at all.
Oh man.
Because it's still easy. It is easy answer. It is easy question. It is logically. Do you think the government USA, if it wants to destroy Daesh, is it possible or not possible? So if it is possible, so why they don't do?
People out there, but 99.99, no one wants war, except maybe no one wants
that's
war.
Political.
No soldier wants war.
That's political problem. It's not like human being problem. If it is like human being, yeah, of course we don't want war. But when you have political problem, it's coming as you are not human being. You lost your human being when you are a political man.
Not all politicians believe that way.
Yeah, not all. Yeah, of course, not all. But the majority of them, they play that. So what's happened to Palestine, for example? Do you think it is fair to give a Palestine a government to control their people, to live their people in some part of their area? So why USA is always against the such decision?
So in Palestine,
that's because of political, not because of human being. If you are a human being, you will say, yeah, of course, Israel have some part and Palestine have some part. That's all, and we solve the problem.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah.
Hassan has he has truth in some of the stuff that he said. I mean, I understand his point of view, but Bill, you should know better than anybody in this room right now. The last part that you say you might not agree with, we know why we say we can't agree with. And that's the reason why I can agree with saying that that if we can't say it, it's for a reason. But Hassan can say it.
Yeah.
And if I can agree with him from here, I mean, without saying I agree.
It's a difficult situation.
It's really difficult.
I understand.
It's so disturbing. It's sad, like to even know, like to even think. It's sad. But the truth of it is, hold on a second.
When we think as a human,
I'm going to sign off right now, but I want to thank everybody who came on today. Hasim, I want to very much thank you and the people from the Muslims who came on the show. You're very brave to do what you're doing, to come on the show and speak. I appreciate it very much, and the world appreciates it. And we need to hear more of it.
I wanted to also add to what Mr. Conrad is saying. You know, what makes the U.S. like a prosperous country is the fact that we have the freedom of speech here. We have the freedom of a lot of different things here. And one of the biggest things that we have freedom here is a freedom of religion. And, you know, if we don't agree with other religions, that's normal because we can choose not to agree with them, but we still have to respect them, and we still have to respect the life that is being, you know, that are taking part of whatever religion they want to be part of. And we support the human race. I mean, we want everybody to be okay. We want peace, and that the part about war, we don't want to go to war. You know, we that's one of the biggest things we hate is war. But for there to be war, sometimes for there to be peace, sometimes we have to go through a war, which is sad. But Hassan, we just wanted to say thank you, and like Mr. Bill said, you're a courageous man, and we salute you.
Yeah, very much so. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everyone coming on today. I'm going to bring up the numbers a little bit. Kleb will bring you up to at least 1,700. A little superstitious. And we'll see you back on sometime.
All right, thank you, of course.
Be on Sunday morning. Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com.
Meet the Voter?
What time Sunday?
It's Pacific time at 9:30. Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com. I'm going to try to get my team to hold this open for several hours after the show. I'm sure we'll be talking about more issues of the war next week because the war is continuing.
It's about to get bad right now.
It is. You know what?
Receiving a lot of stuff from NORAD. I don't know why NORAD is even involved in this. But
Kleb, you'll understand this. I want to go back so bad sometimes.
Well, with your expertise, I'm gonna have to need. Cause I need counsel. You know, I'm 32 years old. I'm really young to be where I'm at right now, and it's God that's blessed me, you know, to where I'm at right now. But I do need counsel, and you know, it would be an honor for you to take me under your wing. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that, but I'll tell you what. I was at Kaya headquarters, big headquarters, a lot of DIA guys. I'd much rather be a team leader in the field, the small team.
I understand.
So, hey, take care, guys. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you. Take care, Hassan.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. See you next time. Thank you very much.
You too, brother.
Okay. I have to go now.